not sure if anybody's with me yet. I don't think so. Whoop. Hi, Mom. And there's Becca. There's MK. Hi, guys. So, we're running into a little bit of a hiccup because my laptop, I don't have Firefox or Google Chrome, so it won't let me Facebook Live off of my computer. So I'm going to have to do it off of my phone, which is kind of annoying, but we'll make it work. So, hi everybody. I'm gonna wait a few minutes and see if anybody else shows up. And yeah, hope everybody's having a good morning so far. I just got my hair done this morning, so there's that. Can everybody hear me okay? Comment if you can hear me fine. Yes, no, maybe. Annie, yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks, Beck. Thank you. I figured I would give a few minutes to let some people show up. Again, since Annie, I don't think Annie was here whenever I started, my computer doesn't support the video. I need Google Chrome or Firefox to be able to do it, which I don't have. So it will only be on my phone, so I'm going to have to hold it the whole time, and I'm really sorry about that. So we're going to be really close to my face, and we're just going to have to make it work. So that's that. Let's see, what time is it now? Been what, maybe just a few minutes. For those of you that are here, I'll go ahead and show you who I have in the room with me so far. So, is just kind of chilling. He will be helping us demonstrate some carrier training later. And Babs is hiding around here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where she's at right now, but she's right behind him. There's Babs. Amy, hi. So everybody's here, the whole gang's here. Okay. Well, I suppose I'll go ahead and just get started with you guys, and anybody that wants to pitch in later. You should be able to watch it later. It should archive just fine. So if anybody wants to watch this later, you can do that. I'll introduce myself for anybody that watches this later that doesn't know me, but I know that all of you guys know me, but I'm just going to introduce myself anyway. Dr. Nelson's here. Hi, Dr. Nelson. All of my coworkers and friends. So my name is Devin. I'm a certified veterinary technician at Valley Veterinary Service in Bell Vernon. I like to consider myself one of the cat gurus in the practice. I have 2 cats of my own, Camino and Babs, as you just saw. And today I'm going to kind of just be talking about how to get your kitties to the vet. So unfortunately, I would say most of the time we end up seeing cats at the office. By the time we see them, they're already sick. And it's really important to make sure that we're seeing cats every year, same as you would dogs, for preventative care. That's their shots. That's flea and heartworm preventative. That's just making sure that they're physically healthy at least once a year. Twice a year for those cats that are senior geriatric. But the reason why we don't see cats very often in the office is because it's impossible to get them there. Knowing from personal experience, I've had difficulty getting my own cats into the carrier. So I'm here to give everybody some cool tips and tricks on how to get their cats into the carrier and into the cars safely and to the vet's office with everybody being as calm and stress-free as possible. So first things first, your cat needs to be in some sort of safety device, whether that is a carrier or a leash and harness. They need to have something for travel. So taking your cat to the vet or anywhere for that matter in just a blanket or a towel, completely unrestrained, is incredibly unsafe and runs the risk of them getting loose. And we definitely don't want that. So whether that means using a carrier, Camino is leash and harness trained. I have a girlfriend who walks her cat into the office on a leash and harness every single time she comes in, which is super cool. Hi, Holly. So that's also a viable option too. I'm not really going to dig into harness and leash training today, but just keep in mind that that is also an option as well. So, yeah, first things first, always travel with some sort of safety device, whether that's a carrier or a harness and leash. Secondly, each cat, if you're taking multiple cats, if you're traveling with more than one, let's say both your cats need an exam at the vet and you want to take them both at the same time because it's easier, they should never share a carrier. Each cat should have their own carrier for themselves, especially if they're adult cats. I can say I'll let it slide on your kittens because they're real tiny and they fit in the carrier together. But like with my cats, 2 completely full-grown cats should never share the same carrier. They like to have their own places to hide, and they need to feel comfortable too. I mean, think if you were, if you're ever stuck in the back seat of hi Holly, if you're stuck in the back seat of a car with way too many people, think about how uncomfortable that is. So your cat is the same way. They do not want to travel just totally squished into one tiny little carrier with all of their feline buddies. Hi Brandy. So yeah, rule number 2, each cat gets their own carrier. I'm going to show you guys some examples of carriers that I prefer. There are a million different types of carriers out there, but there are some that are more appropriate than others. Speaking from a vet tech's point of view, I prefer something that is easy to get the cat out of. Something that is just like, let's say for example, a front loading carrier. So a carrier that only has a door on the front can be a little tough whenever we go to get the kitties out, only because that's the only area that I can get in and out of. And sometimes reaching in towards the cat can be really scary. They just kind of want to hide all the way in the back, and reaching in to grab them and pull them out can be really intimidating and really scary. So I personally prefer a hard-sided carrier, so something that is plastic, that has a front-loading door, but also has a door on the top that can open too, or a front-loading hard carrier that can be taken apart. So I have my carrier here that I'll show you guys as an example. Now it's already taken apart, but you get the idea. I have it taken apart already to show you guys how to kind of condition them to liking the carrier later, but just as an example. So my carrier already taken apart, but it is a hard-sided plastic carrier that the top of it kind of unclips here, and the entire top of it can be taken off, and I can take the door out too. So the benefit of this is that I can take the top off of it instead of reaching in for the cat. That way they're still kind of in their little box and they feel safe. What's nice is that a lot of our doctors can actually do their physical examination while the cat is still inside the carrier too, so we don't even really have to reach in and get them out at all. So that's one example. Another example, now this is one I don't really use very often because it is broken, but just as an example, is a soft carrier as well. I have no issues with soft carriers as long as they have like this kind of hard like skeleton to them. I see some soft carriers often that really don't have any type of framing to it at all, and it falls in on the cat, and that can be kind of scary and uncomfortable for them too. So something that has nice bones to it. This has a zipper on the front, but also has a zipper on the top here too with the latch. The latch is broken. That's what's broken on here. But you can kind of zip open that door. You can reach in this way, but they can also walk out of the front if they wanted to as well. So this is another example. Again, leash and harness training is another example you can do too. Let's say you're in an emergency, something happens, you just kind of ran to the vet and you didn't have time to get the carrier out and get the cat in the carrier. You took him in a blanket or a towel or something. Don't be afraid to ask your vet for a carrier. Most vets have either a cardboard carrier like this or something that a previous client had left or donated. So don't be afraid to say, listen, hey, do you have a carrier or something that I can use on the way home to keep them safe in the car? So a cardboard carrier is not a bad option either. This is something that we have at Valley Vet that you can ask for. A lot of your vets have them too, and I know that if you're kind of in a pinch or you don't have the money to shell out for something big and fancy like a plastic carrier, they do have them at Pet Supply Plus too, and they're really, really cheap. But me personally, invest the money in something that's awesome, something that's going to stay and last over several years. I see a lot of kind of those hard-sided carriers that have like the screws and stuff in them too. Those are fine. Again, those screws come off. Just make sure that once they start to rust and things like that, that we start to, oh, Mrs. Wilkie, I miss you too. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, it's so good to see you. Anyway, the screws do rust over time, so once they start to rust, it becomes really difficult to unscrew them and to take the top off the carrier. So if you notice that, it might be time to get a new one. So those are just some examples. There are, like I said, there's a million different other types of carriers out there, so just do your research and figure out what works best for you and your budget and what is ideal for your cat. Every cat's a little bit different, so you just kind of have to shop around and see what you like the best. Also, I just want to mention that I am 100% open for questions. I would prefer if you could save them till the end. I'll answer any questions you guys have, only because I don't want to get off track and lose my train of thought. So we will do questions towards the end. If you have any at all, I'm definitely here. If I'm unable to answer them for you today, I will definitely do my research and look into and ask the other girls or any of the other doctors and get back to you. So next, I'm going to show you a small demo of how to kind of get your cat accustomed to the carrier. So first things first, golden rule, I can't say this enough, leave your carrier out all the time. Do not put it away. I get so many phone calls that say, listen, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I have to cancel my appointment today. I can't come in. I can't catch my cat. If you left your carrier out, you wouldn't have that issue, because the reason you can't catch your cat is because they hear the jingle of the metal door. They know what's coming. They are not stupid. Your cats are so smart. They can hear that thing coming from a mile away. So leave your carrier out all the time. Mine stays a part of my furniture in the cat's own room. They have their own room, which I'm in today. This stays out all the time, and the door's open. So leave the door open, leave it out. Making it a part of the furniture and creating it to be something positive will make a huge difference. If you only get it out to get in the car and go to the vet, they're obviously going to associate it with something super negative. They're going to hate it. They're never going to want to get in it, because every time they get it, they get in the car, and then they get to the vet, they get poked and prodded, they get their temperature taken. I would hate to be in it too. So leave it out all the time. Secondly, you want to line it with something that's familiar and comfortable. So by that, I mean a bed that they frequently use, a blanket that they lay on all the time, or a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something that smells like you. Leave that in the bottom of the carrier all the time. As of right now, I have a bed that they always, always, always lay in. In the bottom of their carrier, I also have a toy in there. You could use toys and things like that. Oh, thanks, Nikki. I wore them special for today. Just something that's fun, familiar, that smells like them, kind of just throwing them in and not creating that familiar smell can sometimes make them uncomfortable, because it's a weird place that they're not used to being into. So adding something that already smells like them will make it a little bit more familiar, a little bit more comfortable. So I leave that bed in there all the time. If you have to wash it, replace it with something they've already been laying on that already smells like them. I also like the use of pheromones to use too. So there is something that for any of you clients that come to see that are watching me right now, we use this all the time in the hospital. You may even notice when you bring your cat in, we'll place a towel over top of their carrier. We spray it down with something called Feel Away. Feel Away is a fantastic tool to use for any cat. anxious or not. It's just an amazing thing to use. What Feel Away is it's a synthetic version of the pheromone that's released right here along their jaw. So if you ever notice like your cat's kind of headbutting things, or they walk across things and they'll kind of rub their neck up against it, they'll do it to you. That is actually a way of marking their territory. So this helps create a sense of familiarity and makes it more comfortable and a little less scary. So I like to spray this in the carrier days in advance. If you know you have an appointment scheduled, spray it a couple times a day. It lasts for about 4 to 6 hours. Just make sure you give it about 10 minutes or so to dissipate before you ever put the cat anywhere near it. It does have alcohol content, so they can't go right into it. It's not going to smell good. And then a couple hours before your appointment, before you know you're going to leave, just kind of a couple spritzes inside their carrier, and hopefully it'll help make their experience and their travel a little bit easier, more comfortable. So great tool to use and have for anybody that knows that they're traveling. So we have our carrier, we have our bed in it, we have our Feel Away sprayed. Now we have to get the cat in the carrier to get into the car. So I'm going to kind of show, if my cats will cooperate okay with me, an example of how to start to get them accustomed to it. So I've got a bag of treats, so use whatever your cat likes the most, whether that is shredded chicken, shredded tuna, just regular cat treats, something that they really, really like, or something that even might be just special to carrier training. That way they get excited about carrier training because it's something they don't normally get. However, Camino has food sensitivities, so he cannot have anything other than his regular cat food, but he loves it, so that's what we're going to use today. Excuse me as I try to make a small rig to stand my phone up so you can see what I'm doing here. Try to push this back a little bit. Either that or I might have to, see there's my carrier, I might have to just kind of hold it, so it's going to make this a little bit difficult, but there's a couple different ways you can do this. So first way, kind of the easiest way to do it, is to simply feed them out of it. And you can start small. So start by feeding them in front of the carrier with the door open, just kind of offering treats in front of it, and work your way into the carrier. That kind of gets them used to and working their way up to it. If your cat's a fast learner, then it might be a faster process, but sometimes it takes a while. I prefer to give them 3 successful tries before moving on to the next step. So once they walk away and they're done, or if you kind of overdo it and you notice they're getting anxious or scared, that's your time to stop, quit, give them a second, give them several minutes, maybe even try it tomorrow, but give them a break and then try again later. So that's one way, just kind of generally feeding treats out of it. Another way to do it is by clicker training too. So now we do have a certified Karen Pryor clicker trainer at Valley Veterinary Service named MK. She's amazing. So if you have any serious clicker training questions, she is the best person to ask. I will admit I'm a little bit of a newbie at this, but the idea is really simple to get. So the idea of it is using your clicker. So I have one here that's also a Target clicker. We have them at Valley Veterinary Service for really cheap. You can also find them on Amazon, anywhere. They're really easy to find. The idea of it is to use the sound of a clicker as kind of like a sign of reward. So if they're doing something that you want them to do, you give them a click, you give them a treat. So again, starting small, getting them to even go in front of the carrier, using your clicker to say, yes, that's what I wanted you to do, and then giving them a treat immediately afterwards. Both of my cats now know I have the bag of treats, and Babs is already inside the carrier. Oh, well, she just hopped out, but she was already inside the carrier because she knows what this means. We've been practicing. So, but just a simple way. Here's Camino. He knows what I have. There's Babs. So first way is just even by either putting the treats outside of the carrier or putting them inside the carrier and feeding them out of it. They both have been in and out of the carrier and kind of already know how to get in it. So I can demo as good as possible, but they both have already been in and out of it and already kind of know what to do. But starting by, now everybody's going to crowd, starting by just kind of feeding them in front of it. See, she knows what's coming. She says, "Where's my treats? Where's my treats?" So, again, rewarding them for doing whatever you want them to do. Again, you can use your clicker for kind of marking the correct response by either jumping in the carrier, putting their face near it, putting a paw in it, are all examples of markers that you could use. I had every intention on actually showing you how to use the clicker. However, since I'm on my phone now and I kind of have to hold my phone to be able to give you any sort of good angle on this, I'm not going to be able to do that. But if you have any questions or you need help, again, you can contact MK, you can ask me, and I'd be happy to maybe even take a personal video myself and send it to you. But I have to kind of hold my phone at the moment. So, again, this is kind of a weird example because Babs is already kind of so used to just hopping in it because she knows she gets treats in there. Camino's a little bit more wary. We were practicing earlier and I was making my steps and put the top of the carrier on, and he said, "Oh, good idea, MK." She says I can click with my tongue so I can make like a sound. That's a really good idea. I was practicing with Camino earlier and he was doing really well, and then I put the top of the carrier on and he said forget that. So again, this is a process. This isn't something that you're going to be able to get them to do right away. This is something that could take days or weeks or even up to a month, to fully get them comfortable with going in and out of it. So take your time, be patient, and give the cat plenty of time to get used to their surroundings. Once they're comfortable walking in the carrier, even laying in it, sometimes they'll sleep in it, you can, again, work your way up to putting the top on and putting the door on, or feeding them with the top on, the door open. Sometimes they'll start to walk in for you. But that all kind of takes time. So that's something you have to be a little bit patient about. There we go. Now Camino's in it. He's wondering where his treats are now. He says, "Hello, I'm in my carrier. Where's my treats?" Oh, he says, "I'm done, bye." So that's pretty much the gist of it. But again, at the end, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to kind of go into a little bit more detail if you'd like, or if you need a better example of kind of how to clicker train or anything like that, I would be more than happy to do that for you. So I had a great question earlier today whenever I was at the salon. My hairdresser asked me, she says, "Listen, my cat is horrible. Getting him to the vet, I end up having to use a pillowcase in order to get him there," which isn't unheard of. I've heard that before. I've seen it before. It's not, it's certainly an option if you have to, but I kind of wanted to go over how to get the unwilling cat to get into a carrier too. So let's say, again, it's an emergency, your cat's not super carrier trained yet, but you really need to get them to the vet. Another option of kind of how to get your hands on them and get them into a carrier safely without them becoming too stressed or you getting hurt or the cat getting hurt. You never want to chase them. You never want to try to trap them or make them feel unsafe. So luring them into a small room like a bathroom or a guest bedroom, and just somewhere where they don't have a lot of hiding places. So maybe a guest bedroom's not the best because they could probably hide under a bed. But in a small room where they don't have a ton of hiding spaces, and close the door. So lure them in with food and water and stuff like that. And just you can lure them in there, have them stay there for a while. Make sure the carrier is already in there if possible, if you can do that. Wrapping them with a towel so they can't see if they're the kind of cat that likes to hide. Wrapping them in a towel, or like in my hairdresser's case, a pillowcase, isn't a horrible idea. If they're a cat that already really likes to hide and they feel safe that way, you can certainly wrap them and then put them into the carrier is another idea. I've even had success having the cat walk in backwards instead of frontwards. You try to kind of get them frontwards, and then they put the brakes on. They, put their hands out like this and claw onto the side. Sometimes putting them in backwards, having them walk in backwards, I've had really good success doing that, especially at work. For the cat that doesn't want to go in, feel away. Again, I can't stress feel away enough. It's a great tool to use. They even make thunder shirts for cats is another cool idea. So I know we're more familiar with them with dogs, but they do make them for cats too. Hi, Jackie. If you know that they're kind of an anxious or nervous cat, if that's something that makes them feel safe, then that's also a really great idea too. So moving, something else I wanted to mention too. Don't be afraid to ask your vet for like a pre-medication. So something to help kind of take the edge off. It's not a bad thing. There's a stigma behind using something like a pre-medication, but it's not a bad idea, especially if it's going to make them less stressed and anxious. If it's going to make their visit easier, it's going to be better for everybody. So don't be afraid to ask your vet for that option either. So now we have our cats trained, our cat's in the carrier, we need to go to the vet, we're ready to go. So now what do we do? The way I travel with my own cats is in the carrier. Again, I have a bed that already smells like them and they're familiar with. I also cover their carrier with something, again, that smells like them, so maybe a blanket that they lay on often. You can spray the blanket with Feel Away if you want to, and place it over top of the carrier. This is really great for, again, cats who like to hide and feel safer in small spaces. This is also great for cats that get motion sickness. So kind of sometimes being able to see outside the window or seeing outside the windshield or something like that can make them a little motion sick. I get car sick myself. So keeping that kind of visionary stimulus away from them will kind of help with that a little bit. So covering that. I cover my own cats. I think they meow less whenever they're covered, so I'm assuming that that they feel a little bit safer because they can't be seen, they can't see out the window, they have that kind of sense that they're hiding. Babs found my treat bag. So cover my carrier. I also like to play soft classical music. I know that kind of sounds silly, but there's been a lot of great studies out there on cats that respond well to music that's played low. It shouldn't be loud. And it's something that's softer, again, like classical music. I'm not a huge fan of classical music myself, so I like to play something like a really low, like acoustic music has worked out okay for me too. I wrote it down just as an example. If you ever want to look this up, there is a album that you can buy called Music for Cats. Really easy to remember, but it's specifically tested and designed for cats to listen to and to respond well to. This is another tool we use at Valley Vet in our exam rooms. We always have some sort of soft music playing as a way to kind of help de-stress them a little bit. There's Camino. So I do that too every single time I get in the car with them. And obviously keeping it nice and cool in there too. If it's too hot, that can get upsetting as well. So I think probably the biggest thing I can't stress enough other than Feel Away is to keep yourself calm. We often, I guess I could say for myself or with my own experience with my cats, getting them to the office is stressful in and of itself. It's stressful for them. It's stressful for me. I don't like doing it. I've caught myself avoiding taking them in because I know how miserable it's going to be. So keeping yourself calm will make a huge difference. They can feed off of your anxiety, off of your nerves. So keeping yourself calm will help keep them calm as well. Now, coming home, let's say we've gotten to the vet, we did good on our drive there, we're doing good on our drive back, we had a great checkup, everything's good, we're healthy. Now we need to get back home. This is for those of you that have multiple cats. So I had, Camino had surgery I would say maybe a little over a year ago or a couple years ago. When I brought him home, she acted like she had never met him before. She hated him for like 3 days. She would hiss and growl anytime he came around. This is not uncommon. This happens really often, actually, in multiple cat households. They smell different when they go to the vet. They do let off stress or fear pheromones whenever they're there, or especially in the carrier. That usually starts there. So they smell different, and they tend to not really enjoy it so much. So I do recommend whenever you get home, keeping your cat, the one that's traveled, keeping them in the carrier for a while, letting the other cats smell them through the door and see them and try to get familiar with them. And then move at their pace. If your other cat doesn't care, is okay with it, you can let the other one out and let them visit for a while. In cases like mine, I actually have to separate my cats for several hours before I can let them back out. So I actually keep Camino in the carrier for a minute, let them smell. Babs is always upset every single time. I will actually put him in a separate room by himself. I'll put him in my bedroom with his own litter, water, food, and stuff like that, and let them smell each other through the door that way and get more familiar with each other's scents. I usually have to do it for several hours. Some people have to do it for an entire day. It just kind of depends on how quickly your cats readjust to each other. Now, if we're taking like days to get back into the swing of things, I would probably have you give your vet a call and talk to them about that. But that's pretty rare. That would be a little unusual. It's not something I've ever heard anybody having an issue with, and I haven't had an issue with myself. But definitely kind of letting them gradually get back into the swing of things is better than just kind of letting your cat go and then having everybody upset and stressed out for several days. So, again, I've said it 10,000 times, Feel Away will help with that too. So having a diffuser spraying certain areas of the house will help make that transition a little bit easier too. So, that is pretty much all I've got for today. I'm sorry if I was talking like at a million miles a minute. I just wanted to make sure that I got all that information out there and left enough time for questions, and I didn't want to take up everybody's Saturday morning, because I'm sure everybody's got awesome stuff to do today. But that is pretty much my spiel there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. I would be happy to answer this for you. If you don't, or you think about it later, you can always message me on my own personal Facebook. You could give the office a call if you'd like. Anything that you need, we're here to help you out. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. I hope I was able to give you some new tips that you didn't know before. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody showing up and supporting me. So if there's anything you guys need, let me know. I'm going to do this every third Saturday of the month. So I'll do another one again in July. I also still offer kitten kindergarten classes at Valley Veterinary Service. So if that's something that sounds like a lot of fun to you, let me know. It's a really great socializing and training experience for, I actually offer it for kittens between the ages of 8 and 16 weeks. In that class, we do offer demos on carrier training, which would be a lot more in-depth than what I did today. We also start clicker training as well. We start teaching you how to groom and trim nails and things like that. And plus the kittens get to play together and meet each other. They get a lot of really great handling exercises and hopefully help make the vet office a little bit more of a positive place than the scary place that they get shots at every time. So it's a lot of fun. I encourage anybody with a new kitten to do it. There's a lot to learn. So if that sounds like a lot of fun to you guys, or you have any questions, you think you're interested, give us a call, let me know. I would be more than happy to get you guys signed up, okay? Any questions at all, feel free to comment or just shoot me a message on Facebook, okay? I'm just gonna like sit here for like a second if anybody has questions. If not, I'm gonna go. Camino, come here. See if Camino will come up here and hang out with us for a minute while I'm waiting. Camino's my big lug. He's been with me for the past, he doesn't want to come up here, there he is, the past 8 years. He's awesome. Huh. He's a handsome boy, and he knows it. Alright guys, well I'm going to go ahead and go, but again, if you need anything, shoot me a message on Facebook, give me a call at the office, I'd be happy to help. Bye!